Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Daniel Marsh, and I'm a sales engineer here for Zyzel UK, covering mainly the north. My colleague Nigel Canning, he's also a sales engineer, and he covers the southern area. So thank you for joining me on today's webinar. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is doing a live demonstration of our Nebula platform. So for some of you that may not be aware of what our Nebula platform is, it is a cloud-based management platform where you can manage your switches, your access points, and your gateways for multiple clients all under one sort of pane of glass. So one of the messages we're trying to get out there this year is to do with MSPs, so a managed service provider, where you actually manage a full service for your clients, so being able to look after all their network requirements. So as I said, the tool that we've got for this is what's called Nebula. So if you go to nebula.zyzel.com, register an account. It is a free platform to start off with. There are like professional packs that you can purchase with more advanced features if required. So what I'm going to sort of go through is some of the key benefits that this platform brings you specifically for an MSP sort of environment. So first off, we need to go into the Nebula Control Center. And at this point, you'll be presented with all the organizations which you are part of. You do have the ability to create an organization from here, and you'll see that I've got quite a few, some of which are for my testing. But what I'm going to do is, rather than going into an individual customer, I'm going to show you the top level. So it's like a sort of three-tier management level. So we've got the MSP level, which is the top level. This gives you full visibility of all the organizations and all of the sites underneath it. And as you can see on the screen now, it shows you the organization, the status of the organization, whether there's any issues. As you can see, that one is showing that it's bad. That's because there's a device currently offline. So using this screen here, you can visually see all your customers, how many sites they've got. So you'll see here, this one's got 3 sites, and how many devices are assigned to this site, and the status of all of them as well. So whether they're sort of dormant, whether they're offline, whether they're in an error state, so this could be firmware needs upgrading, or whether they're all in a good state and currently online. If you do have any questions, by the way, there is a questions section that should appear on your screen. Feel free to post them in there, and at the end of the webinar, and I've gone through everything, then I'll try and answer as many of them as possible. So as I say, on the screen here, you have full visibility of all the license details, the equipment, and just a nice quick overview to have a look at the current status of all your customers. Also from this section, you have the ability to do a license transfer as well. So say, for instance, you need to move the license from a specific organization, you can do this and you can specify what level of license you want to send across. So it could either be the NCC, which is the Nebula Control Center, or the NSS, they're the security services, the Nebula security services, and they're for the gateways, which incorporate sort of antivirus and IDP and things like that. You will notice that there is only 2 listed on here. However, on the organization screen, I've got more than 2 organizations on there. That's because I've been given administrative rights to these ones, whereas these 2 here, I am actually the owner of. I created them. So you can only license transfer if you are the owner of the organization. So for the MSP branding side of things, now this is quite good because this allows you to white label it. So if any of your customers who you've given access to want to manage some of their devices, which is something you can do, you can actually replace the logo and put any form of logo in there. I mean, for the time being, I'll just remove this logo, and you will see in the top left-hand corner here where it says Zyzel Networks, it will just give you the sort of generic Nebula Control Center logo. And then from here, you can specify whether you want it on all of the organizations or just want on one specific one. And then the support contact. So when you go to help and support requests, you can for Pro Pack features, you can raise a direct support request within the Nebula platform, whether you're having issues, whether you need some advice or anything, that facility is available. And because you're an MSP and you're sort of going to be managing the services for your customers, you have the ability to specify your own customized MSP support information. So you can put all your contact details for your help desk, your support @ email address or anything like that. And when they go to that support page, which I'll show you in a second, it will show on there. And you will see here as well, you can advise where to actually apply it to. So we can apply it on a specific organization, or you can do it on all current and new pro organizations. So any that you create will inherit the same information. So if you go to help and then support requests, you'll see it'll take you through to the support request. You can invite the Zyxel support as administrator. So this is our Nebula team who specifically can look into the back end and resolve any potential issues. And you'll see here, here's my customized message there. So all I've done is a little one-liner. So what you can do is from here, you can have a look at open and closed cases. Obviously, there's nothing been raised here, so it doesn't show anything. However, if you click new case, and then it will give you the ability to raise a new case. So you can do a subject, you can carbon copy in an email address, you can select specifically which device, which is registered to this organization you're having a problem with, or whether it's a platform as a total. And then you've also got the priorities as well, and a definition of what them priorities mean. And you also have the ability to add some files and then sort of submit it as well. So it's really good being able to directly raise a support ticket within here, especially if it's an end user and you're managing them, they can obviously get the support directly from Zyxel as well. So with the MSP side of things being covered, and obviously the support element, one of the next things that I want to just go through is one thing that I think is very important for MSPs is being able to track what equipment you have out in the field. So to do this, you go to sort of organization wide and then inventory. Now this inventory will show you a list of all organizations in which you are an owner of and all the equipment that is sort of installed and registered on the platform as such. So you'll see here I've got 4 devices. It shows you when I've been registered, and it just allows you to unregister them. You can add them to a different site if potentially it's been registered to the wrong one. And then what you also have the ability to do as well is export it to a CSV file so that you can hold it some form of copy on a local server or something. And from this stage, you can register a new device, so put in the MAC address and serial number, or you can download the template and use the import routine. So if you click it, you'll see it takes you to a form of upload folder so that you can upload the file. I think you can upload about 100 devices at any one time. So if you've got a very large installation, you can literally put all the serial numbers and MAC addresses inside an Excel spreadsheet, upload it, and it saves you having to put in the MAC address and serial number for each and every device. It will only let you register devices which are Nebula compatible. So if it detects a device on there that doesn't support Nebula, then it won't import that and it will throw up an error on there. So with us going through the sort of inventory, making sure that you've got full traceability of all the equipment, as well as you can see the status of all the equipment for all of your organizations, there are a couple of really nice features which help you manage the actual customer's network. So obviously wireless is always a bit problematic in certain areas because you've got environmental factors to think of. So whether that be the structure of the building, whether it be some form of wireless interference or whatever, wireless obviously requires quite a bit of maintenance to make sure it's running at its most optimal settings. So one thing that we've actually implemented for the ProPack feature within Nebula is called wireless health. Now this is sort of like a machine learning algorithm where it has a look at your clients and the retry rates, and it will indicate any potential issues you've got with your access point. So this could have been potential interference with an access point next door, or it could have been when I powered on a secondary access point the other day to which I was doing some testing with. So it can show you that the access point is having certain difficulty in certain areas. And then what it can do is it can automatically change the channel. It can even change the channel width to try and combat this particular interference that you're suffering. So it's very intelligent in the way it works, and it does it based on retry rate. So specifically the sort of experience the client device is having rather than just the signal levels. And as you can see here, these are my clients and the health of my individual clients that are connected. So you'll see I've got 6 good connections onto my access point, and I've got 1 fair connection. So you'll see here that my Amazon Alexa is currently sat outside in the bar, and you'll see that that is actually suffering because it's I think at minus 80 decibel level, so it's right at the edge of the signal and it is causing issues. However, it works flawlessly, as do all my devices inside the property as well, and that's because the machine learning is actually combating any potential interference and any problems and maintaining a good level of connection for the user. So it is a really good tool. The fact that it self-heals, it's continuously learning based on what it's around and the environmental factors such as interference, and it will just help try and reduce any potential issues on the network and the wireless side of things. So that's one really good feature to make sure you're keeping your client's network to its most optimal settings. One thing I do want to go through is a recent release that that's been brought out, I think on the 30th of last month. So this is also to do with sort of dynamic VLANing and dynamic pre-shared keys. So a little bit for hospitality, or being able to provide users with a automatic generated password. So this again is being able to easily let users onto the network without having to change the password or give them a new password or whatever. So what you can do is, so we'll go through dynamic VLANing first, because this is a really good feature of mine. You'll see here I've got two users on my network here, Daniel at and Billing at, and both of these have a different VLAN assignment. So if I go into this user, you'll see here I've got all the information there. I've got a password that I've specifically specified, and then I have a VLAN tag in this particular user. Now, what this allows me to do, this allows me to broadcast one SSID. This one SSID, when I connect to it, will ask me for a username and a password, not just a password. Now, when I log on with that, because it knows what username and what password I've got, it knows what VLAN I'm specified. And that means that I'll be dropped into either VLAN 99 or VLAN 1. And this is really good because it's not recommended to have any more than 3 broadcasted SSIDs, because it'll cause interference and actually cause issues for itself. So by doing this, and let me give you a scenario, we have a managed office building. So one building, one level of network, obviously with VLANs implemented throughout, but each room is allocated to a different business. Now, what you can do is create a user for each of these businesses. So say there's 10 businesses, you'll create 10 users there with 10 different VLAN assignments. This business can go into any room, connect to any wireless access point throughout, whether that be a communal conference room or anything. And as long as they put in their correct details, they will join the correct network and the correct VLAN assignment. So it means that you can have one SSID broadcasted throughout an entire building, but each 10 businesses will get onto their own network, and they can't contact any of the other machines on there. They can't look at any other traffic. It is as though it's a completely separate network, but only with one broadcasted SSID. So again, it's a very, very good feature to reduce wireless interference and to make management of it is easier as well. Because if that building or if that customer leaves, then all you got to do is change one password. Don't have to change any SSIDs, just change one password and then give it to the new occupant, and that's it, done. Okay. So this is part of the 802.1x authentication as well. So what you can also do is, if you've got a Radius server on site, you can actually have Nebula look to your Radius server and get that information, so the VLAN assignment, the username and passwords from a Radius server that you might already have implemented. So one of the new features that's come out, which is a Pro Pack feature, is the dynamic personal pre-share key. Think about this for sort of like a coffee shop or some form of restaurant or anything. You walk in, you want Wi-Fi, they might charge you for it. Some people do. They give you a little slip of paper with a password on it. All this is generated from here. So what you can do is you can go add, and you can do either a single or a batch one. So you can create up to 20 devices at any one time, specify which VLAN they want to go onto. So this would technically be like a guest VLAN, and then just fill in the details. Once it's created it will create a bunch of randomly generated passwords. So this isn't something you define, it's something the system defines. You can also use usernames as well, so that if for traceability, you'll be able to actually see the usernames on the wireless sort of summary page and things like that. And what you can do is, if you click all of these and then click print, And you can get an email with this as well. So by default, it'll send you an email with all this information here. You print this off and then trim them all up, and then you can hand them out to clients and charge for your sort of wireless. And it's just a way of being able to offer a secure connection, whether it be for a time limit or whether it's forever, where they can ultimately use your Wi-Fi without having to continuously change your passwords because you've given it out to too many people or whatever. So it's a way of protecting your network and offering a dynamic, a dynamic personal pre-shared key to your customers. So two very good features there. So another thing as well, within sort of MSPs and stuff like that, it's all trying to make installation of future equipment much easier, because the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of time rejigging the network because something else has been added, and a few weeks, couple of months down the line, something else gets added. And before you know it, you spend half your time just providing routine maintenance when devices are swapped out and replaced, and that can become really tedious, and you want to sort of concentrate on growing your business further, not just going back and recapping on older installations. So this is all about trying to make things a lot easier. So this is I'm going to go into some sort of switching elements now. So on the switching elements, and if you go into switch settings, there are a couple of nice little protocols. So quality of service is always good, making sure potentially VoIP traffic has higher priority than data traffic and things like that. This can all be done on VLAN assignment. You can say, right, this VLAN's for voice, and it goes to a specific priority. Or, and I prefer this method, you can use the voice VLAN. So what's recently been implemented is the fact that you can put in the vendor's MAC address. So the first sort of 6 octets of the MAC address for, say, Yealink, Polycom, Cisco phones, whatever sort of VoIP phone you've got, you specify the information in here, the vendor's MAC address, and then if that joins the network, it will notice that it's a Yealink phone, a Polycom phone, a Snom phone, and then it will specify it with a VLAN assignment and put all of that data from that phone into that VLAN and provide it the priority you've given it. One of the most scenarios that people use with voice phones is they actually plug a laptop or a PC into the back of the phone because they might not have enough cables. By using the voice VLAN, because the computer has a different MAC address to the phone, the computer will get onto its native VLAN, whether that be one or whatever VLAN assignment you've provided it, but the phone will still go onto the voice VLAN. So the traffic, albeit going down one cable, is still separated when it comes into the network, and therefore the priority still kicks in. The vendor-based ID is something that has recently been implemented. So it works very similar to the voice VLAN. So you specify a vendor OUI, a VLAN, and what sort of priority you've got. However, this will allow you to create multiple ones. And the sort of scenario that I see this in is, for instance, say into a school, they've got iPads which want to be on a specific VLAN because they're using a certain content filtering that the computers don't need because it's an iPad. So you could put an Apple vendor ID in here, what VLAN the iPads want to go on to, what priority, and as soon as they connect to the network, they will get given the correct VLAN information. So again, it's really good being able to just provide your network with that flexibility where you don't have to go and change something every time a new device gets added. You set it up and it will just work, and it becomes very, very easy to manage moving forward. So there's some of the real high benefits of what the platform can offer you for an MSP. It's all about simplifying your installations, simplifying your continuous management of the network, and making sure that any future changes are easy to implement. So pretty much if you set it up correctly, then you won't have to do anything apart from just routine maintenance. So it's a way of really helping you get nailed down with the specific project, the customer's requirements, and then just let it continue wearing away and working. And then you can concentrate on growing your business into the areas and offering further services because you're not drained on resources by being able to having to go back and recap on everything that you've done previously. So that being said, I can see a couple of questions have come through, so I'm gonna address them. So Gordon's asked what license is needed for the wireless health. So the wireless health is a Pro Pack feature. The Pro Pack feature can either be done by time-based or it can be done by Perpetual. So Perpetual is where you can do a lifetime license, which means you have no expiry date in any way, shape, or form. And you can see this if I go to the MSP portal and the organization, you will see that some of the organizations say non-applicable for a license date or an expiry date. That's because they have a perpetual license, meaning it never expires in any way, shape, or form. The good thing is about this, if you license five devices, so you've licensed, say, 4 access points and 1 switch, yeah, 5 years down the line, you want to upgrade to the next technology, such as wireless AX. If as long as you do a straight like-for-like swap out, so you swap the 5 devices for 5 new devices, that perpetual license will still apply to them devices. The only time you need to think about adding any licenses is if you increase the amount of devices. So say you add another 2 access points, you'll need to license them 2 access points for a perpetual license, and then that will again bring the whole platform up to no expiry date on that. So I hope that answers your question, Gordon. Damien, in regards to the API access for Nebula, it's not currently available yet. I believe it could be in either December's release, potentially February's. Obviously, with the scenario we've had recently, unfortunately, development has sort of slowed down and pushed everything back slightly. Matthew's asked a question. So for the cloud authentication, can you set a guest account that does not require a password in addition to a cloud user? So what you can do is, rather than creating a user with no password, if you go into authentication, you can specify the network as open. That obviously won't allow you for a password. But then what you can also do is do a sign-in method. So this is like a captive portal where you can do a click and continue, where they must view and agree a captive portal page when they access the network, or you can get them to sign on with Nebula Cloud Authentication that I've shown you, a Radius server that you might have, or you can use Facebook or Facebook Wi-Fi and get them to check in on your company page, for instance. So if I go to access point on the left and down to captive portal settings, this is where you set up all the individual bits for the captive portal. So upload your logo, any specific tailored messages or anything, whether or not you use an external captive portal. And when they do log in, what do you want them to do? Do you want it just to stay on the captive portal authentication page where it says successfully connected, or do you want to redirect them to potentially an internet fair uses policy, or even nowadays with the COVID guidelines, potentially a website which outlines the company's COVID-19 guidelines and social distancing aspect? What they will see, if you go up here, you'll see the theme. What you can do is you can preview that theme. Again, this can be changed with a bit of HTML editing, but this is by default is what they will see if you just set it up sort of out of the box. And then you can copy that and have different captive portals for different SSIDs as well. So that's the captive portal one. So I hope that answers your question, Matthew. So Simon's asked, are you able to do a firmware upgrade via the portal? So yes, you have full control over all the devices when they are in Nebula. So if you go to site-wide, because the devices are sat at site-wide, because you've got organization, underneath that you have the sites, and then underneath the sites you have all the devices. So you can go to firmware management, and on here, it'll give you the firmware status of all of your devices. It'll tell you what the current firmware is, obviously the MAC address and what model it is, etc. You can have a look to see if the upgrade is scheduled. So part of the Pro feature is being able to schedule upgrades, and you can schedule these for a specific certain date, and you can also specify it for a certain type of device. So say all security gateways update, say on a Friday evening. That way you can do a sanity check on Saturday and Sunday, make sure everything's working, get all the switches to upgrade on a later day, get all access points to upgrade on an even later day, just to make sure you're not upgrading everything at the same time and then everything sort of goes down because it lost internet, the firmware corrupted or something like that. Some form of networking issue might have happened. Then it means that you don't lose anything and you can sort of recover it as well. So hopefully that's answered yours, Simon. So yeah, Damien. So Damien's asked, does the auto upgrade not work unless you have Pro? That is correct. So the scheduled upgrade is a Pro Pack feature. You can manage all the firmwares manually for free, but when it comes to scheduling them, then yes, it is a Pro Pack feature. One thing I just do sort of want to go through is one key aspect is the alert settings that the platform can actually do. So by default, you can add multiple administrators to a site. So a lot of people use generic ones such as support at. So if there's any issues, then they get a notification by email to that one. But I know some people use things like Zendesk, which have email integration. So that might be that an email gets sent to a support email address and automatically logs a ticket with your help desk. So you can either send an email to all administrators of this site, or you can specify a custom email address so that whenever any of these alerts are hit, they go through to the specific email addresses you've specified. And what you can do is you can get an email notification if the AP goes offline within 5 minutes. The same with the switch and the gateway. And then you can also, on the gateway, you can get whether or not the DHCP lease pool is exhausted, when a VPN connection is established or disconnected. If you've got any internet issues, so your WAN goes down, for instance, and then if any configuration changes are made, so it'll send you an email and say, right, this was the old value, this is the new value, and this is who made the change. Just so that you can check, obviously, if there's any issues, who made the change, the reason for the change, and you can revert it back to the previous value as well, because you've got all that information there. So all of these are available on email messages, and then you will see if you've got the Nebula app, you can get certain in-app push notifications as well. So for the wireless alerts, switch alerts, and gateways, if they go offline, the app will tell you that it has gone offline. That seems to be all the questions addressed. Have you got any more questions? There is a couple more bits I just want to show you, especially when it comes to supporting and maintaining a customer's network. One of these is a Pro Pack feature, which is called Topology. So this is where it actually maps out your network topology, and I find this really useful. So you'll see here, I've got two switches. My CCTV switch, which manages all my cameras, which you can't see because they're not Zyzel. My home access point, you will see here, is currently online. And if I click on it, it'll tell me how many clients I've got connected and obviously what model and the status of it. But it'll also tell me what remote port is plugged into. So if this was offline and showing red here is offline, I could look at it and think, right, this is plugged into remote port 4. So we'll go across to the switch it's connected to, click on the switch, that's all online, and click on the main switch, and this will take me into the sort of the switch details mode. If I scroll down, you'll see here I can physically go to port 4, I can see that it's upline, and I can start the diagnostic procedure here because that access point is currently offline in my scenario. We click on that, and then you'll see it brings up all your bandwidth utilization, your power consumption, all your packet counters, but then it's also got the cable diagnostic bit at the bottom. Now this is really good. I won't do it because it will interrupt my network, but if I click this, it does warn you that it's going to run a cable diagnostic test, and it is going to cause disconnection on the selected port. But it will actually tell you if there's a break in the cable. And not only will it tell you there's a break in the cable, but it'll also tell you how far from the switch it is in meters. So it's a really good way of being able to analyze and troubleshoot your network without actually physically moving from your desk. So as I say, that the network topology and the way you can step through each of the screens to drill down further and further into the diagnostic tools is very, very handy, especially if you're trying to maintain a good level of SLAs with your customers. So Damien's come back with another question. So in AP status, is there a way to tell how many clients is connected, i.e. AC or AX, not just the client capacity? So when you say how a client is connected, do you mean it on the specific sort of whether they're connecting by AC or AX level? Because that's not available on the monitoring at the moment, and I haven't got an AX access point either to show you. But we can discuss that a little bit further later on if you want, Damien. So let's see, we've covered the sort of the support elements of it and the MSP side of things, being able to brand it, being able to do your license transfers. We've covered the network topology, which I deem very, very good for managing the network and maintaining it. The inventory, which is always good to make sure you know what you've got out there in the field. Cloud authentication, so being able to create dynamic VLANs, the dynamic users, which again are new features and are very, very good for helping reduce wireless interference and also to help with user management as well. So let's see, Gordon has just come back with a question. When can we use a top-up Pro AP license? Is cheaper than the standard Perpetual lifetime license? Nebula Professional Pack top-up license for NAP or Nebula Flex Pro AP Perpetual. So yeah, basically when you buy a specific access point, so say it's one of our Nebula ranges, so our NAP series, or it's a Nebula Flex Pro device, then you have the ability to buy what's called a Perpetual, like a lifetime professional pack top-up license. And it is a fraction of the cost to what it is for a full-blown license for a Nebula Flex device. So Nebula Flex Pro and Nebula devices, you can use a top-up license, but Nebula Flex devices you can't. You'll have to go for the full-blown license. And it means that for a margin of the cost, you can just top it up to get it full lifetime license, because the NAPs and the Nebula Flex Pro come with 3 years inclusive licensing when you purchase it and register it. So does that answer your question, Gordon? And while Gordon just replies to that, I have got Damien has come back with another question. So also from bandwidth use on the network, can you drill down to the IP address or MAC address that is using it? So on the switches, you can navigate down to the actual client itself, and it will show you obviously what they're connected to and things like that. At the moment, it doesn't record exactly what they're currently using at any given time, but you can have a look historically on the actual device. So if you click on the device, and then you can have a look at their network information, the basic information, and then you can obviously do certain diagnostics. There are certain areas that you can actually see the actual throughput. So if you go to like clients, for instance, then you'd be able to see what signal strength they've got and what their current usage is based on like the last 2 hours. So if I go to 7 days, it'll recalculate this entire screen. You'll see the usage will then go up based on what I've got, and it'll also increase the amount of devices. So I can see what they've done on a specific access point over a given period. So yeah, Gordon's confirmed that he's okay with this question. Damien, hopefully that's asked your question. If not, we can go into it with a little bit more detail. Matthew's come back with voice VLAN. Can you add multiple MAC addresses if you mix Yailing and SNOM? So if we go back to the switch and switch settings for voice VLAN, so what you can do is with voice VLAN, you can add multiple OUI. So you could do SNOM, you could do Yailing, you could do Polycom, for instance, and specify each of the OUIs into here. The only thing that you need to be aware of is that you can only dictate one voice VLAN. So all of these phones will get dropped into the same VLAN. Because in hindsight, you would really want them all part of that anyway. And if you have a look here, assign VLAN by, you can either do it by OUI, or one of the latest features is LLDP-med. So this is like a discovery protocol where you can specify DSCP code on the actual phone, and it will basically come across, go, right, I've received this DSCP code, I've been specified that it needs to go into voice VLAN ID 99 at priority 4. So there's also that way of doing it as well. So I hope that's also answered your question, Matthew. Right, so that seems to be all the questions currently. So if you haven't got any more questions, then I'm going to look at wrapping up the webinar. What I will say is obviously at the end of this webinar, there is a survey. So I only think it's a few questions long. Once you've filled out that survey, then you'll get qualified for a free of charge voucher in which you can actually go to our new Academy campus and do a certified Nebula training. So just to sort of run you through this, because I know I've had a couple of questions of this after my last webinar, is if you go to academy.zeisel.eu, it'll take you to this lovely page here. And then if you go to certifications at the top, and then scroll down, you've got Nebula level 1 here. Now you've also got security level 1, switch level 1, and wireless LAN level 1 that you can also do from here. But we are only offering the free vouchers for the Nebula one at the moment. So if you click start now, and then enroll, you'll see that it gives you a value of 299 euros, but enroll that, and then you will see here, yes, I have a voucher or a coupon, in which case, when you receive your email, the coupon will be listed there. You can put it into here, redeem it, it'll take the total to 0 and allow you to continue. This training course is really good, actually. It's only just launched, but it gives you the ability to do it at your own pace. So you can go in there, you can do all the different modules and have little questions at the end of each module. You can recap on modules, you can go back, you can pause, you can do it in all your own time. And then once you've done all the modules and completed all the individual little questions for each module, then at the end there'll be the certified exam, which obviously once you've started, you'll have to do during the time limit, and then once you've completed it, if you've passed it, you'll get a certificate. If you fail, then obviously you won't do. You will need to register an account on here as well. So if I just sort of sign out, if you go to log in instead of certifications, although it'll take you to the same page, just go here to sign up and then put in your information. You'll get an email come through with verification. Once you've done that verification, log into here, and then you'll just be able to go through and physically do the steps I've taken to do the exam and then roll onto it. If you've got any problems or anything like that, then by all means just get in touch with either myself or anybody in the UK office, and they'll be able to assist you and help you get on there, get it enrolled. So I want to thank you all for coming onto the webinar today. I want to wish you all the best of luck as well with your exam. And again, if you've got any questions or anything like that, you'll be able to contact me by my email address, which is daniel.marsh@zeisel.co.uk. Alternatively, I am on LinkedIn. If you want to grab me on there, feel free to connect with me. So again, thank you for taking your time out of your day. I can imagine you're all pretty busy. Yeah, have a good weekend and good luck with your exam. So thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.